Last lesson, or in this series, is being a servant like Jesus. We're going to talk about fellowship. About fellowship this evening. Begin with a few Bible passages. A friend loves at all time, and a brother is born for adversity. It comes from Proverbs 17:17. A friend loves at all times. What do you think about that? What does that mean to you? First off, you have friends. And hopefully, you have friends not like the prodigal son. So, what does this verse mean?
Your friends don't care what you go through. They love you anyway and love you through it.
Very good. Yes, sir.
Yeah, they don't leave you with the kids rough.
That's true. Sometimes, well, we've all had things happen in our life, and then sometimes you wonder about friends and find out maybe who your friends are and who they aren't. Next passage, Proverbs 18, verse 24. A man who has friends must himself be friendly, but there is a friend who sticks closer than a brother. A man who has friends must himself be friendly. If you're going to have friends, say you go to a new place, right? So new place of business, new congregation, whatever the case may be. In some of those situations, you expect people to be friendly toward you, but how are you going to be able to make new friends?
You got to be friendly.
You got to be friendly. I know I've probably said this before, but we've been visiting congregations, and I say visiting because our first time there. And I don't think that anybody in the congregation said hi. Well, they might have said hi on the way out the door. Hi, see ya. Then there's other places that people are just really, really, really friendly, make you want to come back. I don't know how those other congregations are able to keep their doors open if they can't be friendly to visitors. I mean, that's one way of growth, visitors. This verse says, though, that there's a friend who sticks closer than a brother. Do you have any friends that are closer to you than your natural family? Yeah. Most of us do. And thank goodness for that, right? Some of our relatives, I don't know. Not talking about yours, talking about mine. Well, one thing, I don't really live close to mine. One of mine live nearby. Some's in Alabama, some's in Tennessee, Angela's live way down on the coast. So we don't really have any relatives that live by us, and we never really have had that. But there's always been someone, usually a member of the church, that has been there to help us through times that we needed someone. Hopefully that's true with you too.
You also got to take into consideration who wrote the Proverbs.
Right?
And this man's adversity with his brothers was tremendous. I mean, you got to think about the kind of life that he grew up with, the brothers that he grew up with. If he had a confidant that he could go to and sit and talk with and discuss things with, talking about a friend, that's what you do with a friend. That makes sense in that light.
Right. Yeah. Solomon had some brothers, but they didn't particularly like him. Genesis 2, verse 18 says, "And the Lord said, it's not good for man to be alone, but I will make him a helper comparable to him." It says that's the King James Version. I don't know if that is or not. So all these passages talk about humans need someone. Now, Angela calls me a recluse, so sometimes I act that way. But we all need someone sometimes, right? Some of you may have lots and lots of friends that you do lots of things with, or family members, or whatever. Hopefully you have a spouse that you can count on, and or someone that's like this particular verse is talking about spouse. But hopefully there's a person in your life that can be your friend and acts nice to you and treats you as if you matter. You know, some of that's what we need in life, right? We need someone to show us that we really matter. And the whole gist of things, we know we're very insignificant because we're one person among billions, right? But it's nice to know that someone takes the time to say, hi, how are you today? And really mean that, not just have something to say. What physical blessings are you most thankful for? What's one of the first ones? Could be any of them, I guess. Well, one I chose was family. And there's some families. I don't know any of those people. You might. I don't know any of them. But we spend lots of time, lots of energy, lots of concern with some facet of our family. And families have some very likable, desirable traits, such as love, companionship, unity. At least that's what we hope that you find in your family. Now, is it always calm and nice? Well, maybe not. But you would expect in a Christian family there would be love, companionship, and unity. Now, that's not to say we always agree, because even though when a man and woman get married, they become one flesh, right? But they still have two brains. They're not always going to agree. Hopefully the love is there. And that kind of love is not just physical love. I mean, you've got to love people through thick and thin, as we know that. Most of the common marriage or wedding ceremonies have that in there. You're going to love the person no matter what condition they're in or you find yourself. And then there's companionship. Some of you have grown up, had a family, family's now gone. Now it's just you and your spouse, and hopefully you've made a nice friend. Otherwise it's going to be a miserable existence for you, right? We are God's family. The same traits in our physical family should be present in our spiritual one. Love, companionship, unity. Question I have is that true? Some of you have been to, well, a lot of you probably been to a lot of different congregations and have seen different things. Hopefully a lot of good things, but sometimes you might see things that are not so good. But so, the same traits that we talk about physical family should be present in our spiritual one. Do you think it's true?
Definitely. That's where you get your home life from. It's from your spiritual family.
Okay. Anyone else?
Well, it's not a spiritual family, it's the Bible, because God tells you how to take it.
Right.
Is the question, should we be that way, or is the question, are we that way?
Well, that's the next question. Next question says, is that what you see? And so, hopefully, again, most of the congregations that you've been in and around act in that way, where it's calm and there's love shown and there's unity and companionship. But sometimes congregations, it kind of gets ugly sometimes. You might have been in a congregation that had some issues. It gets so bad sometimes, congregations split. for different reasons. I don't know if it's true or not, but my dad just talked about congregations splitting over the color of paint on the wall.
Carpet,
Carpet.
yeah.
What a stupid thing to even have. I mean, yes, you have your opinion, but is it that important? What's the most important thing? Serving God, right? Being able to get along with your Christian brothers and sisters. If you can't get along with them here, how would you expect to later?
And that in itself becomes a problem, because you said that there's three things: the love, the companionship, and unity. If we're not united in Christ, then we're not united at all. And what you see, and what I've seen, I'm not trying to bring an indictment against the church. That's not the purpose of the statement, but we're here talking about fellowship. And hopefully the conversation here helps us to grow and to be stronger with one another. But one of the things that you see a lot in churches of Christ is they become splintered to the point that you've got a family, really, that's over here, or a family that's over here. And when I say family, I'm talking family, earthly family,
Right.
not church family. And that's where you see congregations split along the lines of families. And that creates a tremendous problem. If we're not united in Christ, then anything can separate us just about. We have to be united in Christ.
That's correct. And that's one of the places where we never really felt like we were part of that family, because, as you just said, there were physical families in the congregation or groups that were already established, and we weren't one of those groups or in any of that family. And not that they were mean or ugly, I guess, we just never felt comfortable. I mean, not really part of that group. Yes, ma'am.
Where were you at? Was that with a language barrier somewhere, or was that here?
No, it was in the United States.
I just
No,
don't know,
no.
she could have been somewhere.
Well,
Well,
now,
it's like being in high school, really. That's how I felt on some of the congregations we went to. It's like being in high school, where you have the little clique doing this, this little clique doing that. I don't know, everybody has their own agenda sometimes, I think. So that's what makes it hard to be a church family.
and that's not how it ought to be. As Jack just said, we ought to we have our differences of opinion sometimes, and we can work through those. If it's not a difference of doctrine where it's a salvation issue, then we can work through those things. If it's something that you disagree with me on how a person is saved, we need to talk about it and have the Bible determine that, and then we move on. If it's about what color of clothes I wear, and you don't like how I look, well, we can talk about that too. But people sometimes just get their feelings hurt about a lot of silly things. And I'll say they're silly because what really will it mean in a few years? Just like the paint on the wall. In a few years, you're going to paint it again, probably. What difference does that make? None. A few more passages to look at. Maybe. Okay, that's their button out way. Acts chapter 2, verse 42. And they continued steadfastly in the apostles' doctrine and fellowship and the breaking of bread and the prayers. What's the context of Acts chapter 2, 42? What has just happened? Church began. And at least 3,000 people became a member of the Lord's church. And they continued steadfast in the apostles' doctrine and fellowship. As you read in that and other places, you see the church pretty much met in someone's house. Maybe not 3,000 people in one's house, but churches met in houses. They met where they could. But it seems to me that they had the idea of, we want to serve God. And we want to do what's right according to God. And these apostles that they just heard on Pentecost, well, they saw maybe the fiery tongues. Maybe they didn't see it. But they heard the message that was spoken, and they realized that they got their word from God. And they continued in what they learned, and they continued in the fellowship, being together, acting in one accord, being friendly toward one another. I don't necessarily saying you have to be a friend to be in fellowship, but it helps if you're a friend. At least you know how to act friendly, right? Breaking of bread and then prayers. That was right after the church began. Galatians chapter 6, verse 2, we've talked about this a few times. Bearing one another's burdens and so fulfill the law of Christ. Paul says we need to help each other. We need to be willing to reach out and help someone when they have a burden. We all have burdens from time to time. But it's not a suggestion there. He didn't say you want to, you can do that. No. He says we are required to help one another. Now, the flip side of that coin is people have to let you know if they need help, right? Some people don't like help. Some people like to do it all on their own. They feel ashamed, or they feel it's a pride thing, or I don't know what it is. Some people won't tell you. So you can't be able to help somebody if you don't know what kind of help they need. But assuming you know that a person needs some kind of help, then we need to help if we possibly can. Bearing one another's burdens. Just while ago we talked about having a friend, and what the verse said there is a friend loveth at all times. A Christian, we are to love one another all the time. Now, I might not like you, just kidding, but I am to love you and to treat you with love and dignity and respect. And if you are hurting, or if you are in a need of something I can help you with, I need to be willing to reach out and help. I can't say I'm too busy. Can't say I've got too much on my plate right now. Maybe I do at the moment, but I need to be able to work through that of my own stuff so I can be more available to help with somebody else occasionally. What do you think? Yes, sir?
I think part of the problem too, though, as far as burdens are concerned, it's easy to say, look, I need help with this, and it's something physical, but I think it's a lot harder for people to reach out and say they've done something wrong and they need help to pray and get through it. People are judgy.
Yeah.
I don't care if they are in the church or not, they're still really judgy. And so how do we show ourselves to be true people of Christ so that they can trust you and be able to make that connection and get the help and prayers they need from somebody. So I think that's still a big chunk of what's going on in the world now. It's very difficult to come forward and say, no, this is what I've done, I've sinned this big or whatever.
I agree. To some degree, we have to be willing to make that step forward. Not saying it's easy, and not saying that you won't be judged, but hopefully in the congregation of the Lord's people, we can have empathy and understanding. But I understand the embarrassment and the whether or not people aren't judging you for whatever reason, you might feel that way. So, we are to help someone get through whatever issue they have going on. Ephesians chapter 14, 11 through 16, and he himself gave some to be apostles, some prophets, some evangelists, and some pastors and teachers for the equipping of the saints, for the work of ministry, for the edifying of the body of Christ, till we all come to the unity of the faith and of the knowledge of the Son of God, to a perfect man, in the measure of the stature of the fullness of Christ, that we should no longer be children tossed to and fro, carried about with every wind of doctrine by the trickery of men and the cunning craftiness of deceitful plotting, but speaking the truth in love, may grow up in all things into him who is the head, Christ, from whom the whole body, joined and knitted together by every joint, by what every joint supplies, according to the effective working by which every part does its share, causes growth in the body for the edifying of itself in love. Some of your comments tonight have already kind of gone along with this. We have to grow up. We have to be willing to, that for 14 says, no longer be children. Don't act like you're a child when you come to be an adult thing. Now, probably one of the reasons that people don't become Christians until they understand what's going on in life a little bit. Yeah, we are to act like children in some regards, being willing to forgive, being willing to get along, but not like children. But don't be holding grudges, and don't be trying to be doing trickery things or being cunning craftiness. And there's been people in the church that do those kind of things. Don't be my friend to my face and then talk about me behind my back. Speak the truth in love. Now, sometimes, tell me if I'm wrong, sometimes the truth hurts. Sometimes we don't like hearing the truth. And I make a joke saying, you think I look fat. Well, don't tell me I look fat. But if it's the truth, you should tell me, right? For my health, right? But if it's something else, if there's something else that you see in my life, or I in yours, it's not that we're trying to be judge and jury or anything, but trying to help people with struggles. True? Again, it's hard to help people with struggles if we don't know what they are. But continue there in 15, it says, may grow up in all things unto him. And then the last part, well, one of the 16, but the whole body kind of works together. That kind of is what Jack said a while ago, under unity. We have to work together in unity, causes the growth of the body, edifying itself in love. If we work and are not working in unity, even a small congregation like us, large one, doesn't matter. If we don't work together for a common good, if you will, we're not going to get much accomplished. Large congregations have lots of people and maybe have more money and they can do different things. But that doesn't mean a congregation our size can't do a lot of good things for the community. We've talked about this before too, about needs. Jesus, as we follow his ministry, many times he reaches out to a person's physical needs, like their hunger, those kind of things. Before he talked to them, or while talking to them, about more important things. But he fulfilled their physical needs because most people don't do well if you're starving to death. And I want to tell you about your soul's salvation right now. All you can think about is your stomach. And we talked about that some last time too, about trying to help people. And that becomes a very tricky, sometimes hard decision to make. Like, how much help do I give a person on the side of the road? Do I give them money? Or do I give them real help? Don't know. What do you guys think?
Sadly, that's changed over the years. I say a prayer for them, drive right by them. I'm stopped at an intersection and there's a person. If I have an unopened something from the grocery store, snack, whatever I can hand them,
Right.
I will hand them a sealed package of food. You're not getting anything else, you're not talking to me, you're not getting a car. That's it.
It's sad it's gone that way. I mean, when I was a kid,
I'm sorry.
I understand. When I was a kid growing up, maybe some of you, walking down the road, you might have got picked up by someone you didn't know, but and it might not have been safe back then either. But in Alabama, it happened. It may be that they knew who you were, even they didn't know you.
I do it all the time. I've done it since I've lived here. And when mom and daddy were here.
Right.
And, you know, I just would call somebody and say, hey, look, I'm picking so-and-so up here, you know, and taking him, so it's a truck driver. He was at the gym over here, whatever. Taking him to the hotel, he was broke down. No big deal. I called my parents, told them, look, I'm doing so-and-so here, taking him there. Why don't check in a few minutes?
Yeah.
It ain't right. But nothing to pick up somebody walking over.
You know, but back in the day, I don't think it was. Now, I don't think it's too wise to do that.
And definitely don't help them if they're broke down with their trunk up.
What do you think, Dan?
I'm a sissy girl.
I was just picturing her in the trunk.
What did he say? You just pictured me in a trunk.
Pictured you in a trunk. That's it. That would be the next step.
I love you, brother.
I struggle with this personally a lot. This is one of those things that, and I wouldn't judge somebody for having a different opinion of mine. You know, there are people out there that, you know, they see somebody, they're handing them money, they're, you know, they create little things to hand out their cars, and I would never judge them for doing that. If they're convicted in their heart, that's what they need to do for Jesus, that's what they need to do for Jesus. Me, based upon my job and my experience and things I've seen and learned over the years, I do not give anybody money on the side of the road, period. I have provided food. Occasionally, I'll be like, if you're hungry, I'll feed you. You ain't getting my money, because I know where that money comes from most of the time. And so I have fed people. I mean, I don't, you know, I'm coming out of Walmart, and, you know, there's people out there, I'm not stopping for everybody, you never make it home, you know. At least I'm asking. But I know, I mean, I've been involved in a lot of stuff where they're out there with the sign, taking the money, and you watch and you see what car they get into. They're getting a real fancy car. Well, they're not homeless, they got a home, this is just how they make wake the money. We're from Chicago originally, we got a White Sox fan. I'm a White Sox fan, and there's this same group of people that would at every home game, they'd be out there playing 5-gallon buckets, you know, drums, and they'd have their, you just imagine thousands and thousands and thousands of people every home game throwing money there, and that's all they're doing. For 2 hours a day is beating up some 5-gallon buckets, and they probably make some pretty good money.
It's a profession.
Yeah, I guess so. So I struggle with that because I want to do what Christ wants me to do, and being compassionate and caring for the needy and the poor is part of that. And so I find other ways, like I take, you know, we'll donate money to food pantries. They got to at least put forth some effort and get up, know when the food pantry opens, go to the food pantry. And so we find other ways to try to be helpful in that fashion, but I don't pay money saved aside.
I don't think it's not safe. One thing, if you had somebody, they ask you for money and you reach into your purse, your wallet, whatever, and pull out something, well, they might see you have more. They might decide they want it all. Or, Angela and I I think we're in Baltimore, I don't know. I think it's where we were, and at that time we were walking down the street. Her sister and I went up there for a vacation, and there was this 4-way stop kind of thing. We saw the shift change. There was a person working every corner, and we walked back by later, and the people, they either changed corners, or a whole new 4 people came in to work the same intersection. So what I'm saying to you is that it's tough, and I don't know that giving money, sometimes money is required. Yes, we know the world operates on money. Yeah. But is that the best use of God's money, to give it away to someone to go misuse it? I don't think so. Yeah, there's a lot of people that are hungry, a lot of people that need stuff, and as you said, by all means, we can give them food. If they need a coat, we can give them a coat. But to give them money to just go use in some arbitrary way, I don't think that's the way to do it.
Me and Sandy was in Gastonia about a month ago. We had a flat tire, brand new tire. Some truck passes, starts up off the truck or whatever, we hit us to the tire. Well, we got off the ramp, and you know how it is on those ramps, you know, you got lungs everywhere. Well, we got into that parking lot of a convenience store. And, I was getting a tire out and trying to get, the road's busted off, you know, and the guy comes over. I know he's a bum. I'm sitting, he said, can I help you? I said, well, I'm having a little trouble getting some lugs loose on the bike. Let me change it for you. You change the whole tire. Started walking away. I said, here. I said, I want to give you something, you know. But, hey, just handing money. I would like to feed him or whatever. But, you know, no, I don't want anything.
That's nice.
And I said, well, there's a convenience store right here. You're standing out here in this hot weather. I know that you need something to drink or whatever. So I go like $5 to $10. But anyway, he just thanked me, you know. And I'm like, no, I thank you for helping me.
Right.
You know, I couldn't have done it. At the time, I mean, we couldn't get the tire off, we could get the lugs off, really. And if it hadn't been for him, I'd have to call the tow truck or whatever. But he really saved us, really, a lot.
So there are some still good, honest people out there. I mean, there are a lot of, probably most of them.
It doesn't always turn out that way.
Doesn't always turn out that way.
You can tell.
That's rare.
Which family should we spend more of our time? Jesus denounced his physical family for a spiritual one. Matthew chapter 12. Yes, there. Matthew chapter 12, verse 46. While he yet talked to the people, behold, his mother and his brethren stood without, desiring to speak with him. Then one said unto him, behold, thy mother and thy brother stand without, desiring to speak with thee. But he answered and said unto him that told him, who is my mother and who is my brethren? And he stretched forth his hand toward his disciples and said, behold, my mother, and my brethren. For whosoever shall do the will of my Father which is in heaven, the same is my brother and sister and mother. So, next question, next statement is, if I can do this correctly, we need to spend more time with each other. Not that Jesus didn't know who his parents were, his brothers, but he knew what's important in life. Important is the Christian brethren that he was with. Physical things are important because we are physical, right? We have needs. Spiritual things are more important. Jesus chose at that particular moment, and probably all moments, those that are more spiritual in nature than physical. When it comes to his own personal thing, right? And that concludes today's lesson on fellowship. What do you guys have to say? Anything?
You can go back to Acts.
So I go back to Acts, okay?
If you go back to that, the verse that you had up there, Acts, the second chapter.
No,
Verse
all the
42, I
way.
believe.
We go the
Verse
right way here.
42,
I'll get to it.
that you got.
There we are. Acts.
So, they continue steadfast in apostles' doctrine and fellowship, from house to house, breaking bread and prayers. You talk about 3,000 people that was, obeyed the gospel at that time. If you go on down below that, it says, and God added to the church such as should be saved.
Right.
These people left everything behind. They was people there from 16 different countries. And they left and started their lives over there with the church in Jerusalem. If it hadn't been for Paul's persecution, and we'll find that out later, these people never would have left Jerusalem.
Right.
I mean, that's how much they believed in being with one another and staying with one another. So it was the persecution of the church that caused them to be scattered back to their areas that they came from.
You're right.
And I wonder sometimes, do we have that kind of dedication to one another, and that we believe that much in the church that, this is where I belong. Everything else is forsaken. If you look at Romans, the 12th chapter, he tells us that we should cry when each other cry. We should rejoice when each other rejoice. and that we should prefer one another over the world. So,
That's good though.
you
Yeah,
know,
you're right.
you gotta think, there's some deep stuff in there.
And sometimes, just like I kind of did with that one, I guess, kind of glossed over some of that. But you're right.
I mean, you did a great job on one of them, that's hit the target.
Thanks for your comments.